Okay, so let me share my PowerPoint here. And okay, I have to thank Mr. Sam Goodwin for creating this beautiful design for me for tonight. And so,
and within a couple of days.
In a couple of minutes.
Very short notice.
Yes. So the topic is the golden rule, and so let me say in introduction that the golden rule that states treat others the way you would like to be treated is a strong foundation of all religions. And there is a remarkable parallel in the world's great religions with all saying exactly the same thing. And in modern time, the golden rule has also become part of many international organizations. And it is an important part of the global interfaith movement and also a moral law of conduct for everyday life. And I have to say that when I was doing a research for this presentation, and considering that I am not really a historian in religion, but what I'm going to talk tonight is more the concept of golden rule about more social and economic perspective of this subject. So in brief, this presentation is very short, and after a brief introduction, I will raise and discuss the following two questions. What are the similarities between the golden rule and the golden metal or the gold metal? And also why the golden rule is not a popular subject among social scientists. And I request one of the friends, if possible, read this golden rule. Ricky, are you there to read this for us, if possible?
Whatever is disagreeable to yourself, do not do unto others. Zoroastrianism. Hinduism. Do nothing unto others which would cause you pain if done to you. Buddhism. Hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. Judaism. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Christianity. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Islam. None of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. Baha'i faith. Blessed is he who prefereth his brother before himself.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you. So, although the golden rule of treat others the way you would like to be treated looks very straightforward and simple and easy to understand, however, its application seems to be very challenging and not everybody can apply it. While I was doing some research for this presentation and looking at some of the characteristics and challenges of the golden rule, I said to myself that I am really not qualified to give this talk. The golden rule is a great challenge to all believers. For example, the statement, love thy neighbor as thyself, challenges Christians. But let me say that Baha'is are under more pressure and great challenge because they are instructed to love their neighbor more than themselves. Baha'u'llah states here that great is the blessedness awaiting the poor that endure patiently and conceal their sufferings, and well is it with the rich who bestow their riches on the needy and prefer them before themselves. And Abdul Baha said that prefer the general well-being to your personal well-being. When, of course, we are in this room, in this Zoom room actually, and see this wonderful group from different faiths so lovingly associating with each other, the actual meaning of the golden rule is understood and felt. It is not the name of the religion that brings us together in this room, but the spirit of the reality of religions. Similarly, it is the spirit of the reality of the golden rule that is telling us the same thing in all faiths. It simply means that we are all one in the sight of God. And this is the main message of the golden rule. Now, the golden rule cannot, however, be claimed by one group or a particular philosophy or even a religion. For example, the golden rule is the name given to a principle Jesus taught in one of his sermons. Indeed, the successful evolution of communities has set the standard of the golden rule through which conflicts can be resolved. Throughout the ages, many individual thinkers and spiritual traditions have promoted one of or another version of the golden rule. For example, Pittacus, a Greek military general, 650 BC, said, "Do not do to your neighbor what you would take ill from them." Or Confucius, Chinese philosopher and politician, 500 BC, said, "What you do not wish for yourself, do not do to others." And Aristotle, a Greek philosopher, 384 BC, said, "We should conduct ourselves towards others as we would have them act towards us." So for more than 3,000 years, the philosophers and great thinkers argued that the best way to live our lives is through observing the golden rule. The emphasis is that if everyone lived by the golden rule, we would all get along nicely. But what is the difference between the golden rule stated by these philosophers and great thinkers and the one that is stated in religious scriptures? The difference is that within religious scriptures, an element of faith is attached to the golden rule, and therefore its application becomes a moral and a spiritual obligation. And this becomes a guarantee for the application of the golden rule. The question we should ask here, is the guarantee still there or it's expired? Now, the rest of my talk will be some of the similarities between golden rule and the gold metal. The first one is the connection of the golden rule to the metal of gold. Why golden rule? Why not silver rule or iron rule? Also, we know that there are other more valuable metals like a diamond, which is much more expensive than gold. Why then the golden rule is related to gold metal? One reason is that physical gold is a standard accepted by all people and all nations. Similarly, the golden rule is a moral standard for people to apply them in everyday life. As for gold, the central bank in each country is the authority to set it as a standard. Hence, all have trust and confidence in gold as an accepted and fixed standard. For setting the golden rule, as moral standard, we needed authority. And who can be best or better than God to be the authority to give us the standard of the golden rule through his representatives or prophets of God. Let me demonstrate this with a currency note. On top of each pound sterling note, we read what the queen has promised us. She says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of 10 pounds. Now, we know that the cost of making this note, including labor and material, should not be more than few pence. However, there is a guarantee by the queen that we will get 10 pounds worth of goods and services when we spend it. So that is guaranteed by the queen. But in our part, we have to act upon it and spend it, because it says on demand. In economics, money worth when we spend it, or when there are some activities. Otherwise, it is just a piece of paper. Similarly, in relation to the golden rule, God has guaranteed that if we apply the golden rule, not only we receive the rewards, but also the whole society will benefit from that. Golden rule is also associated with trust and time. A 10 pounds note has a face value. The golden rule is that everyone in the market accepts it because of having trust and confidence that everyone else in the market accepts it as well. Also, its face value is 10 pounds only for today and not for tomorrow, because tomorrow its real value depends on the rate of inflation. Prescription is the best example for understanding the golden rule. You trust the doctor, and it has a time factor. It is valid and working only within the time limit. It is no more golden rule after the expiry date. But the golden rule, treat others the way you would like to be treated, is related to gold because these principles are everlasting. Time and space are irrelevant. They work always without the factor of time and space. The second similarity is that it is the spirit of the golden rule that has similar characteristics with gold. Some of the features of gold are its purity, fineness, permanence, value, superiority, universality, and attractiveness. Gold is of different carat, 18 or 20 carats. 20 carat gold is 18 parts of gold and 6 parts of other metals. The higher the carat, the purer the gold is. Also, it is the spirit of the golden rule that has similar characteristics with gold. From a faith point of view, because the golden rule is given to us by the prophets of God and not by ordinary human beings, we can consider it as 100% pure, and therefore we can have full trust in their authenticity. So the higher the carat, the more pure the gold is. Humans and gold have certain similarities. Like gold, we are of different carat. Depends on our attractiveness both materially and spiritually. However, the part of us, like the gold, which is everlasting, is not our physical or material part, but our spiritual part. To add more carats to our spiritual part, we need to acquire virtues such as compassion, kindness, loving others, service to humanity, and more. The most pure gold are the manifestations of God. They possess all necessary attributes to be 100% pure gold. We also can strive to become better gold. As one of the Persian poets, Saadi, said, رسد آدمی به جایی که بجز خدا نبیند, means we humans can reach to such a station that cannot see anything else but God. Hence, we are all gold of different carats. We can strive to become more valuable and attractive gold by acquiring the attributes of God. The third one is that gold is the economic backbone of a nation. Countries with more gold are more prosperous. The poor countries are those with a lack of a sufficient amount of gold. Hence, less demand for gold makes its value depreciated and unpopular. In the same way, as the golden rule is the strong foundation of religions, if believers pay less attention to these principles, religion, and thus God, become less popular. And it gives an opportunity to non-believers to attack God and religion. Although the world monetary system is no more or no longer based on the gold standard, gold is still regarded as a precious commodity. The advantage of gold is that it is a global commodity with a global price that is the same for everyone. Gold price is subject to wide fluctuations. The reason for the fluctuation is that during a crisis, people invest in gold. It is true that in the last 70 years, the US dollar has become a sort of world currency, but that can change anytime, while gold almost certainly will remain a precious commodity in the future. Relating this idea to the golden rule of faiths, during the moral and spiritual crisis, people turn to God for help. The fourth one is that there is no competition in gold. The price of gold increases or decreases according to the forces of supply and demand in the market, and hence its price fluctuates on a daily basis. If demand for gold increases, its price increases too. The same thing is with the golden rule. The golden rule is based on the principle of cooperation rather than competition. It becomes more recognized and valuable when there is more demand for it. Today, many business organizations support the principle of cooperation rather than aggressive competition to attract more customers. In doing so, they use and promote the golden rule as a way of becoming an ethical business. In other words, they treat customers the way they wish to be treated. And the fifth or the last one in my understanding of the gold rule is that it is hidden and has to be discovered. This means it needs to be separated from other metals that are mixed with it to become purer and higher carat. It requires hard work and perhaps a lengthy process. Similarly, the golden rule is hidden in the words of God and need to be discovered. For example, love and compassion and humility are hidden. They must be revealed and being understood. As miners are going through hard work for excavation and discovery of the gold in the mines, similarly, we have to reveal the hidden meanings of the golden rule. Hence, the effectiveness of the golden rule depends on the discovery of its significance. Religions are instruments to discover the actual meaning of the golden rule for us. Religion tells us that golden rule is a moral law of conduct that teaches us to be considerate and just towards everyone. But why the golden rule is not so popular among social scientists? Well, one reason is that the golden rule has become associated with religion. And in general, social scientists, including secular thinkers, find no relationship between religion and science. They try to get distance from religion. However, there are several reasons that they should have a different approach towards golden rule. Golden rule is not a religious rule. That's the first one. Or the first reason is that the golden rule is not a religious rule. It says absolutely nothing about God. In fact, it is not invented by religion. Golden rule is a natural moral law, and one can be atheist and still cherish and consider the golden rule and practice it. The golden rule is actually a scientific psychological rule. It is a simple formula for resolving aggression and creating harmony and cooperation. For example, in economics, the preference is given to aggressive competition rather than mutual cooperation. In competition, we don't share resources. In competition, I try to get more and more for myself, and therefore less and less will be available for others. This is one of the reasons that currently 80% of the world resources are owned by 20% of the world population. The golden rule leads to mutual cooperation and sharing of the Earth's resources. For example, one of the problems with the current formula of globalization is that it has led to an increase in the gap between the rich and the poor. Hence, the golden rule is an ideal model for meaningful globalization. The resources of the world will be distributed more fairly if the golden rule be recognized universally and be practiced by all. And as the Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen has said, there is nothing wrong with globalization. The difficulty is that the benefits of globalization are not distributed fairly among the citizens of the world. Another reason is that very few people know the main purpose of the golden rule. Some people think of it as being nice to people, but that's not its purpose. We don't need the golden rule to tell us that it is important to be nice to people. It is obvious that it is important to be nice. Our entire lives, we are told and taught how important it is to be nice. The question is, what do we do when people aren't nice to us? What do we do when other people have views that are different from us? When someone is mean to us, how do we respond? The golden rule is a moral instruction. What it really indicates is that we should be nice to people even when they are mean to us. So the golden rule is a part of everyone's life, including professionals. And I say here a few examples of how important is this golden rule to the life of professionals. For example, a doctor may say, I treat my patients in a way that I would like to be treated. A teacher may say, I treat my students the way I like my own children to be treated. A lawyer may say, I treat my clients the way I would like to be treated. An employer will treat the staff the way he or she wants to be treated. A business person may say, I treat my customers the way I like to be treated. We can say hundreds of examples and relate them to the golden rule. It works for all kinds of professions. Another important aspect of the golden rule is that it is the most essential basis for the modern concept of human rights, in which each individual has the right to just treatment and a reciprocal responsibility to ensure justice for others. So a key element of the golden rule is that a person attempting to live by this rule treats others with consideration and not just members of his own or her own group. Therefore, golden rule is ignored by a lot of people in the academia because they think it is too simplistic to deal with the complex issues of our time. They may be correct if we consider the following scenarios. The bad formula of the golden rule. Imagine if rich Americans want to treat the rest of the world as themselves. Do we have enough resources? What will happen to our scarce resources? And what happens to our environment? Or imagine if the poor Ethiopians want to treat the rest of the world as themselves. I don't think anyone will like that idea. The good formula of the golden rule. Treat others only as you consent to be treated in the same situation. For example, do you like to be treated with $5 a day working in Bangladesh? You may disagree with that if you are considering the standard of living here in the UK and the amount of wage you are receiving here. However, if you are in Bangladesh situation with a living condition in that country, then the golden rule is working. In other words, golden rule is practically working if we treat others the way we would like to be treated in the same situation. It is a process and not an event. Golden rule must be treated to a specific period of time, and it should be related to a specific period of time and space. And this aspect of defining golden rule satisfies better the social scientists and secular thinkers and the academia. Another example, I was watching an interview with a porn lady showing on BBC. It was an educational program. The porn lady was defending herself that she likes her job because she is having fun and making a lot of money. At the end of this interview, the reporter asked her, do you recommend this kind of job to your daughter? She, with an angry face, and very firmly replied, no. She didn't want her daughter to be treated in the same situation as she is. So bad costs, including pornography, bribery as a kind of corruption, and military expenses are the three largest costs per year. They cost humanity $5 trillion a year. With the application of the golden rule, we can save a big portion of that expenditure and spend on things that improve the lives of people. As we really understanding the golden rule, or the question is, are we really understanding the golden rule? The condition of the world today shows that either the golden rule are a divine fantasy, a fiction, utopian, and too idealistic, but not practical, or we have not really understood the real meaning of the golden rule and have to go a long way to understand it. Is the concept of the golden rule is so difficult to understand? Is that difficult to understand the phrase, treat others the way you would like to be treated? That for the 3,000 years we are trying to understand it? So as the conclusion for this short presentation, I like to say that if the elements of the golden rule is hidden and we have to discover them, why not trying with children? We tried the golden rule with grown-ups for more than 3,000 years, and it didn't work. Let's try with children. They are like pure gold and easy to shape them the way we want them to love their neighbors as themselves, or even love their neighbors more than themselves. Perhaps education is the best way to do it. And with this popular statement of Baha'u'llah, I end this presentation. He said that regard man as a mind rich in gems of inestimable value. Education can alone cause it to reveal its treasures and enable mankind to benefit therefrom. Thank you very much, friends.